Once more into the fucking boring breaches we go, my friends. So this is yet another chapter of restating thesis. Again. We're constantly now talking about how the wind has stopped. And somehow that's the aliens' fault. I don't know how. That's not explained. But here's the thing. It would be one thing if all of the wind stopped and Theresa didn't know that. And then she learned that from somebody else who was like, oh, well, it stopped all over the place. All the, instruments say there's no wind. And she's like, oh, shit. And then came to the conclusion that it had something to do with her. But that's not the conclusion we get. The conclusion we get is that it absolutely has something to do with her. It absolutely has to do with her. And nobody explains how. Okay? So the wind has stopped. They are constantly watching the news because that's Norman's excuse to, fucking say the same things over and over. So now it's different because it's on the news. We'd heard about it, but now it's on the news. They have to say it again. But still have never explained how the fucking wind stopped. It just stopped. It just did. How it can do that? How? I don't know. It just does. It's not explained. So that happened. And then we fucking restate everything that just happened again. How she survived and we're entering like really fucking hardcore Mary Sue territory here, kids. Because around this point, we now hear from like all these people who were like military people who saw her in her last moments, and it's the worst thing. And everyone is so very upset. But why are they upset? But why though? The admiral who was in charge of this ship, that she was launched off a plane, and it's an F-22, by the way. He decided to name it, which, again, I'm not like an expert on planes, but I'm fairly certain you couldn't fit a garbage bag full of Coke bottles into the cockpit of an F-22 with a person in it. But sure, whatever. This admiral is so heartbroken that he writes this whole speech about how, it's the worst thing ever that they had to do this, and it's so heartbreaking and so sad and so awful, and he's saying this like we know who she is to the rest of the world. As far as she was known, was like a local sports kind of star and a smart girl at her college, which means that if she'd somehow been killed, people in her hometown, family, maybe some of the surrounding areas would be like, oh man, that's really sad. That, that girl was in this college, or, I know a guy who knows a guy who knew her, and shit like that. They are already acting as if the entire world knew who she was the minute that fucking plane exploded. But they didn't. That's the thing. I've read the little president's speech that's in here, and it's literally just talking about the alien and how it was inside this girl, and they had to blow it up because he wanted to make sure that it wouldn't kill, everybody in the country. But it's not as if we found out the alien was inside of somebody like, I don't know, fucking Beyonce or something. Because that would be like a horrible tragedy, because everybody knows who Beyonce is, and that, oh, we like Beyonce, she's cool, she's musical, she's talented, oh, she has a dangerous alien in her, oh man, the government blew her up, man, that's fucking horrible, because we know who she is. Nobody fucking knows who Theresa is. Nobody. At all. You made this shit up. That's not a fucking thing. Just because the people reading your book know who she is, does not mean she has an impact on the rest of the fucking universe. It is very obvious that he's trying to play this whole chosen one narrative. Okay? Except that the reason people know who Harry Potter is because of the events preceding the start of the story. The things that surrounded him as a child. But you will also notice, because you, dear listener, are not a moron and understand basic principles, you will also notice that nobody knows who Ron is in that universe until later, and he's associated as, oh, that's Harry's friend. Yeah, because he's just a guy. And then he becomes something. That's called progression. You skipped the fucking progression part, Norman. You act as if the whole world just knows who she is, and we're all supposed to be so sad that she died, but nobody fucking knows who she is. She didn't do anything yet. She didn't do anything to change anything, to stop anything, to fix anything, nothing. She just got blowed up and survived. That's it. But we're not even done. Because at the end of the chapter, there's this wonderful little note. Everyone assumes that Theresa has the ability to fix whatever the fuck stopped the wind. If it's the alien, if it's Jesus, I don't know. Somehow she's supposed to be the one who fixes it. But then Norman gives us this wonderful little fucking note, which I will read to you. She's talking to Nancy, the housekeeper, who she's known for about half a chapter now, but they're like best friends, because that's how it works when you're a Mary Sue. He's not talking about the wind. He's talking about what I'll do later. He knows that I won't mess the world up like some kind of world dictator. Why would anybody assume that you would be a governmental leader? Why would anyone assume that? So far, you have zero fucking push towards that. There is no inclination that you'd make a good leader. There's no intonation that you could. There is no background in that. None of it. And yet, yeah, that is what is being implied. That Theresa is going to become the world's leader, the savior to all of mankind. Norman is literally writing his OC Do Not Steal into an actual fucking godlike character. That's where we are. Mountains of fucking restating theses, mountains of reusing things, mountains of beating the shit out of a thesaurus to get things to sound smart. All tinged with the idea that this Mary Sue is the greatest fucking character to ever live. I don't know why I started talking like that near the end. I think it's because the speech parts of my brain are desperately trying to claw their way out in a bid to escape from talking about this book. This thing is painful. I've said that several times, but it really is. Norman's ability to hint at things does not exist. He's about as subtle as a goddamn train explosion. The shit just happens. And as soon as he even so much as slightly hints towards it, you already know what it's going to be. So this book has two modes when it comes to that. It either has to do with Norman thinking he's being sly and hinting something, as in, I won't mess the world up like a world dictator, which means, yes, absolutely, you're going to become Empress of the world. Yeah, we know. The fact that you said it like that means we know. Or mode 2, which is shit just happens without fucking explanation. Pure fucking random. We went from, like, wacky college hijinks, if you can even remember that, because it was only like 3 chapters ago, but we went from wacky college hijinks, falling in love, meeting the right guy, to nearly being blown up in an atomic explosion, and then literally becoming a god. I don't I don't know where the fuck he's going with this. This feels like a fever dream. This feels like a weird nightmare that you have, and it just inspires something in you because of pure emotion. So you start writing the story down, and then when you finish getting like halfway through it, you read it back, and you're like, this doesn't make any fucking sense because it was a dream, and dreams sometimes don't make any fucking sense. And you're just running off the idea of passion being passion. You're running off the idea of, I felt really excited when this happened, therefore it must be a good story, except it's not a good story. It's just this. It is just this. So, because I feel like things need an example, and because things need to be over-explained because we're talking about Empress fucking Theresa, recently, Sango and I went to Thibodeau, and on the way back, the GPS was like, oh, take the back roads. Not the back roads I knew, a completely different set of back roads, which was weird and kind of confusing, but I made it home, obviously, because I'm here. Which means it's a non-story. It just happened. That's just a thing. That's this whole book. That is this whole book. It's either terrible subtlety or just things that happen. I don't even know what else to say. This chapter, for example, is, let's say, that looks like about 8 pages long. The chapter previous to this is around fucking 15. Chapters have no size. They just end when he wants them to end. And sometimes that's done just so he can shift priorities from one thing to another. Except that we're still dealing with the same person. It's always her point of view. Always. Because this is her story. So it's constantly her point of view. And when you do something in a first-person point of view of a story like this, you chapter break to change setting or time, or to skip over the parts that aren't interesting. You know, even if you're writing something as important as a story about soldiers during World War II, you tend to skip over the parts where there are those lapses in fighting where everybody's just kind of sitting around and hanging out. Because if you're writing an action story, it's not about guys sitting around and hanging out, it's about fucking killing Nazis. So you tend to skip over the parts where they're just kind of, having a cigarette, talking about, man, France is a pretty country, huh? We'll be better without all these Nazis. And war, but it's a pretty country. Oh, geez. I heard there were these guys, they're like resistance. Maybe we'll find them. Well, I ain't found them right now. And right now we're not going to look for them because we're making dinner. I'm just going to hang out. Peter's cooking up a stew. That's not an interesting part of the story. That's just shit that happens. And that's this whole fucking book. It's just shit that happens. I am losing my fucking mind. I am only just now realizing that. I just kind of disconnected and went into a whole different fucking world for a minute there. This book is making me literally insane. Oh God. And this is only like, what, chapter 5, 6? I don't even fucking remember. It doesn't matter. So with these, I feel like I should explain this before I end this episode. With these, because of how insane this book is, I've basically been trying to just record 3 to 4 chapters a night. Because I have to read those chapters one at a time and then do this. Because I'm trying to do a chapter by chapter reaction, obviously. You can tell what I'm going for. But that being said, I can only do 3 to 4 a night. Not because I can't read that much. Not because, oh man, it's really hard to be you, it's your job about talking. No, it's because I can't expose myself to this shit for too long, because it makes me feel like my brain is trying to escape my body. I just can't. I just can't. And so that is why I'm doing it like this. And that is why I will always start out one episode pretty good and then progress further into madness and then just reset. I want you to be aware of that, just so you understand when the tone randomly changes like it is right now. I'm sorry. Holy shit, this book is fucking insane. I have said that almost in every single video now, and it's still true every time I say it. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you're enjoying this, and if you are, like, comment, and subscribe. Just for my sanity's sake, please. Also, I have a Patreon, because I don't do the YouTube ad thing, because I can't say fuck if YouTube pays my, thing. And I need to. We're reading Empress Theresa. I need to. I also have a merch shop if you'd like to buy shirts and things like that. I mean, you just could. Why not? It'd be awesome. And I have a subreddit if you want to send me things. I legitimately forgot the word subreddit for a second or two there. That's why there's a pause. I'm going to leave it in, because this is to show you just how insane this book is making me. So, yeah. I love you all so very much, and I'll see you in the next episode. I'm going to go lay down for a while. Goodbye.